everyone, I hope you're all well. So I am going to talk to you a bit about renting today, a bit about schools and obviously Medicare. I am in my office closet, so we can get some peace from the craziness, because obviously it's spring break for me and the kids at the minute. So I have, let me just move that screen so you can't see that. So I've got a lot of it written down on here just so I don't forget about it, and I'll give you a little rundown after I've finished talking to you about it. You may notice a wardrobe change from then on, purely because I filmed that section yesterday, and for some reason I managed to film the renting it part in slow-mo again. I just don't know how I managed to do that, but it's really annoying. So here we go. So to find a property, we went through a realtor. There is a property shortage or housing shortage here in Canada at the minute. It's a lot like that for us on the island, because there's a lot of people and not as many housing. So we panicked a little bit and decided to pay a stupid amount of money to a realtor. But you know what? It took the stress out of it. I didn't have to think about it. They did all the legwork and they got us pre-approved for this property, so not complaining. Plus the fact we had dogs as well, which made life a lot harder to find a property. So without further ado, let's just have a look at some of the websites that you can have a look at. So you've got Realtor, you've got Kijiji, Facebook Marketplace is another good one. Let's have a look. Realtor websites, so like Pemberton Homes, which is who we use to find a property and make the move. There's also rentals.ca and there's a few others. So that is a really good starting place for you to have a look at a property, especially while you're still in the UK. Once you get over here, you will find that some properties advertise in that window out on the street. So Nathan lived in Victoria when he first moved. He lived in an apartment there, and how they advertised, and a lot of the apartments down the same street have advertised, was by a big sign out front saying vacancy or no vacancy with the contact number on there. So that is another way to find property. If you've got an Airbnb, if you want to have a drive around your local area to see if you can see anything advertised like that, that seems to be the way to go. Or join local Facebook groups. That's another good way of doing it. But I think Facebook Marketplace seems to be the place to go. You do have to be careful with scams. So if you are trying to contact somewhere where you can't physically go look, and or they want money up front, don't be daft enough to fall for it. There is a lot of scams like that are going over here, and especially on like Facebook and Kijiji. So just be super careful. Another thing that you can do to help yourself is build a profile for a realtor or for a potential landlord, which helps you stand out from the crowd. Now they are saying for every property that's on the market to be rented, that you're maybe looking at about 100 or more applicants for one property. So you really do need to kind of like go the extra mile to provide information up front to kind of get you ahead of the game, because obviously you're moving over here, you have no credit rating, so it's going to be a little bit more difficult when it comes to finding a property. So some of the things that I've suggested and I did for myself, and I know that other people have done, is to kind of like write an intro, a little bit about you, your family, and who's coming over and what you do for a living, and things like that, just to kind of like say, hey, this is us, we're normal human beings and not just statistics on a paper. Also photos are fantastic. I included photos of all of us and the dogs as well, and they also, my previous property, I also included photographs of that because I rented there as well. I also included a copy of Nathan's work contract, just so that they can see that we do have income coming in and he has a permanent job, it's full-time, and how much that he earns. I also included with that a copy of our bank statement which showed us I showed that we had X amount in savings and in the bank accounts as well. So that kind of like showed that we had more than enough funds to support us for the next 6 months should we need it. Also references. Okay, so references are big over here. A lot of the people do ask for rental references. So obviously if you've been in a mortgage, you owned a property back in the UK, maybe getting one from your mortgage company. We also had references like character references from friends, from Nathan's rugby club, and from, what else did we do? Yeah, so, and also from our landlord as well. If you are renting an Airbnb when you first arrive here, or even in the UK, so say you've sold your property and you're renting an Airbnb, ask them for a reference once you leave. That is also could like bulk out your profile a little bit. Here in BC, we're not legally allowed, or landlords are not legally allowed to ask for more money, and you're not supposed to pay more money. So say like more than a few months up front, you're not supposed to do that. But maybe what you can do is say that you're quite happy to offer post-dated checks for the whole entire, so for the next year, so post-dated checks, so they can't bank those checks until that specific date, so say the 1st of every month for the next year. That may be another selling point for you and your family, if that is something that you'd more than happily do. Checks are very normal over here. It is like going back in time, but yeah, for anything, including setting up like payments with like your car finance or your rent, you have to give them what's called a void check, which you get from your bank. And that's how they set up direct debits here. Don't get me started. Okay, so obviously we've come over with dogs. We've had 2 dogs. We had 3 before we left the UK, but we left Roxy, our Chihuahua, in the UK specifically for our own safety, because we didn't feel that bringing her here would be in her best interest, and it wouldn't give her the standard of life that she had back in the UK, because of the risks of predators to small dogs. She'd have to wear what they call a raptor coat, which is actually on the Facebook group that I run. I put a picture up on that, so if you want to see it, go. In fact, you know what, it's right there. That is a raptor coat. My Chihuahua would not wear it. She would put it on and stand like a freaking statue and refuse to move. Now she'd have to wear that in the garden, she'd have to stay on a lead when they're going out walks, and it's just, she's so used to be able to run around free in lots of areas, because we had horses. So she's always had lots of space to run around and without being kind of tethered. So she stayed with my friends. So that left us with 2. And trying to find a property with 1 dog is difficult. When you've got 2, you guessed it. So you may want to write in your intro that you'd be willing to pay a pet deposit. Now you will find this tends to be standard, but if you acknowledge that in your intro and it's a good thing. It would stand out that you're more than happy to pay, and you've got the money to pay for a pet deposit, because sometimes landlords don't think of that. So if you put that in your intro and they go, okay, no, I've not thought of that, I'm quite happy to go ahead with that person because they've got the money and they're putting that out front, so they're obviously going to look after the property. As I said, we couldn't find many places that would take the dogs. So you need to be flexible when looking for a property. So you may have to look further afield when you're house hunting. So we actually are about an hour away from the location we originally looked at. We were wanting North Saanich area when we were looking for a house, but now we're over in Souk, which is quite a trek away from where we were looking. But Souk is a more pet and dog friendly town. In fact, when you're walking around the town, people say hello to your dog before they say hello to you, every single time, without fail. It's crazy. We also we're not picky, and we understand that we needed to look further out for a commute, so you need to be flexible if you're coming over with pets. I think that's all. So yeah, so in the next clip, I'll just run down quickly with you what documents that you'll need to put in that profile. But this is great. Put it in a nice folder and hand it out to prospective landlords if you're physically looking at properties, or obviously send it over in a PDF format, so if you can send it to realtors and people like that. So it's a really, really good way of getting noticed. So just a quick rundown of what documents that you should put together in a profile to be able to hand to these people that you're looking at their houses and trying to market yourself. So a written intro about you and your family, a copy of your UK credit report, work contract if for just yourself or your partner, bank statement showing that you've got more than enough cash in there to continuously pay for your rent, and or post-dated checks. You can offer that as an option as well. We also included our vet reports for the dogs to show that they were healthy and there was nothing wrong with it. I know they probably didn't want to know that, but it's good to show that your dogs are fully vaccinated for things like rabies and stuff like that. So we also included that in our profile. So moving on swiftly. So I'm now going to talk to you a little bit about schools. So over here it's all about catchment areas. So a lot of people say, did you find your school before you came over? Yes, but we signed our lease on our property in July and we didn't move until October, when obviously me and the kids moved over here. So that's why we were able to find the schools that we'd prefer before we moved over. Now, when you are registering for your children to start school, you need to obviously load up all your documents online. So on your province, if you go to the province website, you'll be able to find the school districts, find your school district that you're going to live in. You usually have to put like your postcode in, and it'll bring up the districts, and then you obviously go onto that district's website, pop your postcode in, and it'll bring up the schools within your catchment area. From there you can apply for specific schools. Documents that you will need as you're applying are your work permit, so for both parents, and the children's permits, along with, I think it was, the passports, and we also had to give vaccination records for the kids, not just COVID but their full vaccination history. Bear with me while I look at my notes. So while I read, just a reminder that you will need to let the UK school and local government know that you will be moving and the child will not be returning. Otherwise, you may end up with letters from the school trying to find out why they are not attending, which would be obviously you've moved. Oh yeah. So another thing that we were asked for was previous school records. So before I moved over here, I contacted our schools and asked for the kids' reports for the time that they were at school, explain what it was for, and that I needed it to pass on. Obviously the grading system is completely different here, so that wasn't taken into consideration, but what was like the kids' attitudes and things like that to school, and what sort of clubs and things that they were into while they're in the UK. Also, you may need third-party reports if you've got any say if your child's got dyslexia, maybe ask for a report from whoever's supporting them with that through school. So things like that is an extra that you can pop on. As much information as you can provide the school, it will help them integrate the child into the school system. So yeah, not much really. So basically you go onto your province website, you find out what school district that your child's in, you go onto that school district's website, pop your postcode in, which will then, or full address actually, that will then give you your school options, and then you'll be able to register from there with those documents your child within that school. The school will then contact you directly and arrange for you to go in and the date to start. We had tours of the schools. Well, we did for the older two. I went to see Evelyn's and Charlie's. We didn't for the for Freya's. We got to meet the school counsellors. Charlie, obviously he's in high school, so we had to do his choices because he was going into grade 10. So we sat with the counsellor and did his choices. His choices weren't great because he had to take what was left, but he's got everything that he wants for next year, which is fantastic. You need to be proactive with schools as well, so it's a lot more involvement. So you need to then they figure out what they want to do a lot earlier over here. So we had to sit down with Charlie and say, look, what is it that you think you might want to do when you leave school? We then had to go to like the colleges or trades or look at apprenticeships programs to see what the minimum requirements are for him to join those programs or those courses. From there, we were able to make decisions based on this, which will allow Charlie to go on to the courses that he wants when he finishes school. So you need to be on it, parents and mothers, fathers. So yeah, that is everything that I've learned about schools. There's not been a lot of extracurricular because of COVID here. There was a camp offered through the high school, but that got cancelled, and then they lifted everything, which made sense. There's not been as many. I think there's a lot more hockey post school, and there's not been, although we live in a rugby rich area, Charlie's school doesn't have that there, so it's been a bit of a shame. But they do have equestrian programs, so Evelyn's happy. So okay, now that is pretty much all I can tell you about school systems. If you do have any questions, please do not hesitate to contact me on Instagram. If you go on there and follow me, and then you can direct message me if you need anything. But obviously everything's different area to area, province to province, so it's up to you to go away, take what I've told you from my experiences here in BC and go and have a look to see how it's done in your province. It's not hard, it's super easy. You just go into your provincial website and then it should be pretty well indicated from there. So Medicare. So as a lot of you know, Canada has their version of the NHS that they call Medicare. You have to be in the country 3 months on visa for 3 months to be able to get, actually on visa, I'm lying, should have had, so we landed in October, I started in January. Now originally we were told that it was to do with how long Nathan's been in country, but it's not, it's how long you specifically have been in country. So Nathan started in November and I started in January. To register for this, you can register for it the minute that you land, so don't wait the 3 months to when you can get it. You need to be on it. So I registered when we arrived. I put proof of address and ID. Now I couldn't do mine because my visa wasn't available until bloody January, but I could do the kids. So the kids was all done and dusted in October. I did mine in January, but they were super quick to get mine out. You will register for it, and if you give them a week or two, if you call up, you can get your your PHN number, which is your personal health number, and then that's the bit that people need it. So if you go to the doctors or anything like that, you need to give it to them, and you just tell them that you're waiting for your card to come through. So as I said, it's available 3 months after landing. It doesn't cost you anything. It is free, unless this is for BC, so I'm pretty sure that it's not the same across the whole entire of Canada. But in BC, if you're on a study permit, it's $75 per person. So people with kids, make sure you are applying for the right visa, or the right permit. So you need to be applying for the visitor records for your kids, because if you apply for a study, you will get charged. And I've had so many people contact me about this. They got charged because they applied for the wrong thing. So you will receive your card through the post, your PHN number on it, which is what I've just told you about. It's your personal health number, and you'll also get a card as well. You can download like apps, because family doctors over here are very, very difficult to find. But saying that, the walk-in health clinics are pretty much the same as the doctors that we had back in the UK. So I don't know if it's the same for you guys, but we were in a village, and We never saw the same doctor every time. Doctors change so bloody often, so that's pretty much the same way as it is here. When you go to a walk-in, it's like going to a doctor's back home, because you never saw the same bloody doctor back there anyway. In BC, so I'm not too sure if TELUS app is available across the whole of Canada, but I know in BC we have TELUS app. If you download that, you can actually book doctor's appointments and have a virtual doctor appointment over the phone. They can do referrals. You can book counselling sessions and things like that, all from this app. Now, this is a fantastic app to use. Charlie, as some of you may know, broke his ankle 3 weeks before he flew to Canada, and had to have it operated on and pinned. Now that pin needs screwed. So he's got 2 screws in his ankles, but they need removing 9 months from when it was done, which puts us into June. I made an appointment on that app on a Wednesday. We had the call at 9 p.m. on that same day from the doctor. Spoke to the doctor. He said, yeah, because I loaded up the discharge letter, including everything that happened for Charlie, and he reviewed it live with me. So because I loaded it onto the app as documentation to support why I was obviously booking the appointment. He was like, yeah, no, that's absolutely fine. I'll get you referred for an x-ray, and then we'll get you referred on to a specialist so that they can, make an appointment to do your operation. We had a phone call on that Sunday. So we spoke to the doctor Wednesday. On the Sunday, we had a phone call, which completely threw me off because it's a Sunday. And it was the x-ray department booking Charlie in for the following Friday to have his x-ray done. We had it done in our little town. We just walked around the corner. He had his x-rays done, and we got a notification the following week to say that they had been submitted and that we're now in a wait list to be contacted by a consultant. Now, it is a bit of a wait. We should hear back anywhere between the end of May and the beginning of September about the appointment to have the op done. But I'm not complaining. It was so easy to do. I have myself been out to the doctor because I was quite poorly after we had COVID, and I thought that I had a lot of what I thought was diabetic things going on with me. But luckily it wasn't. It was just sort of some nasty COVID issues that I was having after. And I physically saw a doctor, so I again booked it on the same day and went in. So a lot of people were saying it's so difficult to see a doctor here. It's not been my experience, and I've had quite a positive experience so far with the healthcare over here. So yeah, that's it. You just go onto your government website, and then obviously find your link to apply for your Medicare. And you go from there. Again, it's super simple. Happy to supply. It's not rocket science. You just need to type it in Google to do with your province that you're going to, and it'll come up. That's what I did. Nobody gave me the link. I found it myself and went from there. But that's all you need to do. It's super straightforward. They'll just send it through the post. Job's got them. So I think that's everything that people have wanted covering today. My next vlog, I'm going to do something on wildlife because I know a lot of people are concerned about that. It was a huge concern of mine, but as you will realise, I've learnt to live with it. But for now, tatty byes.